Kashmir Private Schools Association. In other parts of the country, learning अलग लगता है, मैं कश्मीर के पास आए तो अलग दिखती है. So Kashmir point. So thanking you once we are here. So as we go ahead, we have 3 sessions to do. Session 1 with 80 to 90% children lost capability in one subject or the other. 90% capability. If you take math,
School caters most of the students that belong to a section where
we going to take from this paradise on earth. Okay. So first of all,
first one. Exactly. First one because parts of speech bol.
they didn't know. Once I was invited by my state principal secretary while formulating the prepare a child to live in 21st century. Follow. You have a katwa face. The same time another child comes with a governor bhi ho. Ab governor bhi ho. Lekin without experience of it, put your pen on making any rules for
Chairman Sri Gayatri Education. Hello. The discussion also, it is not only the education gap. The other factor also, I think rightly, some people over here, they are pointing out that yes, psychologically also, there is a huge gap with respect to the shame, right? Being teacher.
I am J.S. Paranjyoti from Hyderabad. I am the International Affairs Advisor to National Independent Schools Alliance, New Delhi. We are here to address the conference of the Private Schools Association of Jammu and Kashmir towards the implementation of new education policy so that quality of the private recognized schools is taken care. We are here to advise them and also offer our help how to improve the quality of the students and learning, because of the pandemic there is a heavy learning loss, and almost during these 2-3 years the children could only retain 10 to 15% of what they have learned, and there is a great loss of 80 to 90% of what they are supposed to have learned. So in order to fill that learning gap and also bridge this learning gap, we have come here to advise to the school leaders here. And after coming here, we have come to know certain difficulties that are faced by the Private Schools Association, and the members here are like government is asking them to take NOC for chemical like clearance as well as traffic clearance, and also certain other stringent rules and regulations of non-political involvement and other things are being put here, which are nowhere in the country. Of course, the government is encouraging the schools at the same time, but imposing such kind of unrealistic, unscientific, stringent regulations on the school leaders and schools for their permissions and recognitions will hamper school education, because much of the enlightened society is depending on the private schools for the education of their children, and to that matter in the entire country around 1 lakh and more private schools are being run, and which are providing quality education to the children, and that education and these contributions, they are also providing employment to lakhs of teachers and even subordinate services also. So the government should take into cognizance the contributions of the private schools and should allow the schools to function in their way without providing any difficulties. So I request the government to please look into these matters and help the private schools to give their best services. And we are also here wishing that the private schools would continue to do their best in providing good education to the children of Kashmir and make them wonderful citizens of this country and global citizens too. Thank you.
Namaste, my name is Dr. E. Prasadra from Karimnagar, Telangana. I am advisor quality to NISA, National Independent Schools Alliance, and advisor Trustman of Telangana. So we came today to Kashmir Valley just to understand from the school leaders, Varsab and other people, about the status of education here. We have done a major survey in the country on behalf of NISA as to what happened to learning in the last 2 years. Across the country, it has been registered that there is a huge learning loss in mathematics, in languages, in reading, writing, understanding. Also, we also have learnt through the research that students have developed emotional challenges, relationship problems, psychological problems, sociological problems, because they were away. And digital education, of course, was good, done by all the schools, almost all the schools, but the learning was not so to the expected levels. So having studied and given some prescription there, we just wanted to talk to our friends here, those who are running schools and the teachers. So after talking to them, even they also feel that this major learning loss happened in Kashmir also. That students, even in addition to COVID, the school closure other times also caused a lot of learning loss. Now it's important to understand how this loss can be recovered. Our purpose of coming here is to talk to all the teachers, all the school owners, to prepare a program as to how quickly the learning loss can be overcome through some nice design of a program. And the same thing was discussed in the last 2 hours of meeting. It's a good interactive session. They also accept that something has to be done urgently to make children, a child who is there in 5th standard, when he is at 1st standard, 2nd standard level, the child is going to have this problem throughout his career. But we can change that. So today's important meeting also reflects on preparing schools, preparing teachers, training teachers to make the children come out of learning loss and then start learning in a very natural way. That's a very important thing. This is point number 1. Point number 2, Kashmir schools, JNK Kashmir schools, and I think it's now time to have full-fledged schooling for every boy and every girl. All children should go to school. They should learn because education is so important component that it can no longer be neglected either by the government or by the society or by the parents. So we all need to come together. From our side, we are willing to support schools in terms of training, in terms of understanding national education policy initiatives, recommendations. If they want, we can train them in NEP, train them in assessment, train them in how to teach children overcome learning losses and learning gaps. So our support will always be there. And we request the Kashmir government and society to come together, work along with schools, both public and private, and ensure that every student in Kashmir gets excellent high quality education, so that in the next coming decade, this child who goes to the higher education should be able to have all the skills that the world requires. So that is the purpose of our coming here, and I think we are going to have further deliberations till evening today, and we may probably design a program to continue training of the teachers and school leaders in future in Kashmir. Thank you so much.
So we from the Kshetra team, we want to make the education different from the regular pattern that's happening. Because of the COVID scenario, 2 years education gap has happened. In addition to that, the implementation of National Education Policy 2020, the children need to be trained to the higher level. So that means there is a bifold gap between the present scenario of the student and the coming student. Like because of the COVID scenario going down, and because of the NEP required at the higher level. To fill this gap, actually the concept has to be done in a different way. For that, the children have to be trained for the 2 years program within a less span of time, and also they have been given to the remaining part of it, like we require the peer group learning, storytelling, collaborative learning. So all these type of models which have been as a pedagogy they have introduced in the National Education Policy, by bringing them into the upper part, I think we can make the better citizens. For that purpose, the Kshetra is coming up with an innovative program. Actually, the children, because of as they're away from the schooling education for the almost last 3 years in Jammu and Kashmir, these children, they don't have the class environment in a proper manner. Because of it, not only in the form of education, the psychological also, the child is not on par with the same age group children. So this has to be brought down back immediately. For bringing it back into the society, first thing in the teaching anywhere, the eye contact is very much required. And second thing is, in a conceptual manner, the child education has to be made. Like generally what we assume is, so after 3 years or after 4 years, if we send a child to the school, simply he can write the letters A, B, C, D, likh sakta bolke bolte. But it's not that way. What is the age at which he can hold the pencil, or at which age he can hold the other part of these things, and where he can write the straight line, curved line, all these things in a scientific manner, if you can do it, I think the child will come out within a short span. Definitely there will be a gap with respect to this non-schooling for 3 years, but this gap can be filled. It's not impossible that we cannot fill the gap. This can be filled, but for that I think the classroom teaching is the only solution for doing all these things.
आखिर पे आपकी